ladies, my name is Ashley. I am a Color Street stylist and I am starting what I hope to be a weekly video series called Color Street Sunday Science. So the purpose of this is me, a Color Street stylist, and my husband, a chemical engineer, are going to go through the ingredients list of Color Street nails and kind of break them down a bit. So the purpose of this is we're going to take each ingredient and kind of do some research, and through his background, try to kind of figure out what Color Street is using them for and give a background information on each of the ingredients. So obviously we don't know exactly Color Street's process, but we do understand nail polish and how it works. So it would be, since Color Street is 100% nail polish, it would be relatively the same idea. So he works at work with some of the same chemicals that are used in Color Street, so he's very knowledgeable on them. So anyway, today what we're going to be going over is the solvents that are used in Color Street, and I'll get a little bit more into that. So today's video we're going to kind of go over how nail polish works versus how gel polish works, the three solvents that Color Street uses in their nail polish and how they might apply to it, as well as what those chemicals are used in other daily life products. So I'm going to focus on this video on one specific one and then break the other two down in a different video, but I will kind of give an overview of those. So the whole reason this started is about the second or third day of me being a Color Street stylist, I let one of my coworkers bought a set of nails off of me to do for her and her daughter. Now, Color Street does not actually recommend you doing a top coat. I need to say that plainly. I personally do use a top coat because in my experience, it has worked very well to make me last the entire 2 weeks. And with Color Street being 100% nail polish already, they're very compatible. So Color Street, once again, does not recommend you use it. I personally do use them. This is a week in on my nails, and it holds up really well. I do about an hour after or the day after I apply them, and then about on the 7th day. If I see any kind of wear at the end of my nail, I'll usually go ahead and file it a little bit and then add another clear coat. So they don't usually chip. I've only experienced chipping if I really bang them against something, which does happen. But for the most part, it's just kind of a little bit of wearing on the end occasionally, and that's usually about week and a half in is when I'll notice that, and I find that the more clear coats I apply, the less I see that. So for me, it's very helpful. It's your judgment call. So my coworker, I told her originally, since it's about a 20-minute cure process for Color Street to completely adhere to your nails, I told her 30 minutes to an hour, even though I personally wait an hour. So I'm not sure quite why I told her 30 minutes. So taking me at my word, she put her nails on her and her daughter, and about 30 minutes in, she applied a clear coat. With that clear coat, she said it looked beautiful and it's fantastic, and she loved it. And then she went to bed, and when she woke up the next morning, it was just kind of a mess. She had some bubbling going on, and then she also had some of the top of the clear coat was blotchy. It looked kind of matted. So I ended up taking another clear coat and applying it on top of it, and that kind of evened out the surface of it for her. So basically what happened is the drying process of the Color Street, since it's already 90% dry, and I'll get a little more into this too, it's already 95% dry, so there's an extra 5%, and the extra 5% taking 20 minutes is kind of a long drying like it's already dry, but it's a long curing process compared to like regular nail polish would take about the same amount to fully dry. So this is the last 5%, which is why you can walk around your house and do stuff, and you don't have any smudging or anything, but the chemical reaction that's going on there is really what made it kind of bubble on her by applying that clear coat a little too soon. She also used a rapid dry clear coat, so that's important to note too. You can use a rapid dry, just don't use it at 30 minutes in. So let's kind of get into why that happened. So I'm going to first go over regular nail polish. So I'm going to use a bit of sciencey words, so those of you who aren't real familiar with them, don't worry, I'm going to explain it, and some of you will probably understand what I'm saying too. So nail polish uses a polymer dissolvent or a solute in a solvent. So basically what I'm saying here is The three chemicals that Color Street uses, the three solvents, are basically like if you're dissolving salt in hot water. So the solvent is the hot water. It's the liquid solution that you're using, and the polymer dissolvent is basically like adding salt to it. So it's a solid that you're using to dissolve in a liquid. So Color Street has quite a few different solids that they're using in this, and they're dissolving it in their solvent. So they're use 3 different chemicals for it. So that's basically the process, is they are taking solids and they are mixing them in with several liquids. So when applied, the solids kind of stay on your nail and the solvent evaporates. So whenever you apply regular nail polish, it's a liquid. And what that is it's the different, basically alcohols is what it comes down to, that are creating a liquid, and then when that alcohol evaporates, it leaves the solid behind on your nails. So the polymers that's in there, which is polymers used to make plastics, if that kind of explains things to you. The polymer forms a solid on top of the nail after the liquid evaporates off. So that's kind of how that process works. So Color Street uses kind of a cocktail of solvents in order to make it flexible until it's dry. So the 3 that they use are N-butyl alcohol, ethyl acetate, and isopropyl alcohol. So what we kind of theorize on why they're using these 3 is because of the solids that they use to dissolve in them. So different solids are going to dilute or mix in with the different alcohols. So some of them might dissolve in isopropyl alcohol, while others would dissolve in ethyl acetate. So we think they use those combination of those 3. N-butyl alcohol and ethyl acetate is used in normal nail polish. So Color Street kind of adds the isopropyl alcohol in there as well. We think that kind of isopropyl alcohol is kind of a heavier molecule. So, although it evaporates really well on your skin, it's going to move through all those solid layers to get to the surface of the nail. And the surface is where it's going to evaporate out of. So what we think happened with my coworkers' nails is, even though they were mostly, they were cured and everything, there were still a little bit of the alcohol in the nails that was kind of slow to rising to the top. And when she put that rapid dry clear polish over it, basically you had the layer of the Color Street and then the clear coat on top of it. So those molecules were trying to evaporate off, and when this clear coat started to dry, it kind of hit a barrier. And when it hit that barrier, it created a bubble underneath, which is why you have bubbling, because that alcohol didn't have anywhere to dissolve out of. So it just kind of was trapped between the 2 layers. So that's why it's important to give it the proper curing process before you add any kind of clear coat over it. So otherwise you're going to get those bubbles that trapped. Now, why it created that matty, patchy look on top, we believe is because some of the alcohol had started to escape, and while the clear coat was starting to dry, so it created an uneven surface on top. So as the bubbles formed and kind of evaporated, it created a very rocky barrier. So when I put that other clear coat on top of it, it made a smooth surface and made it shiny again. That's where you get your shine, is from having that very smooth surface. So I'll kind of get into the N-butyl alcohol and the ethyl acetates in other videos. And it's because those are kind of a little more complicated and, in my opinion, interesting. So I'm going to do a whole video on those too. I'm really going to concentrate on the isopropyl alcohol. So basically what that is, it's essentially rubbing alcohol. So, it's common ingredients. It's a common ingredient in chemicals such as antiseptics, disinfectants, detergents, all kinds of household cleaners. So very common ingredient that you see everywhere. Use it to disinfect your skin before you get some kind of shot. I mean, you guys in the medical industry know that we use it in a lot of different things. So that's one of the chemicals in there. So just because a chemical has a long name, it sounds scary, doesn't mean that you aren't familiar with it. It's just something that, we don't usually use that terminology. So, as I said, the cocktail of the 3 chemicals seems to cause a little bit longer of a drying time, which is why the Color Street takes that last 5% to take takes 20 minutes to cure, which is why the rapid dry nail polish caused it to bubble. So I'm going to go with ethyl acetate, one of the other solvents, a little bit. I really want to get into its own video, but that's what's normally found in nail polish remover, along with, you know, acetone is also one that you guys know of very well. So also isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol is very good at drying times on the surface, but it's not really good at removing nail polish. So what happens is when you add, since ethyl acetate is the solvent, when you add it back onto nail polish, it starts to liquefy it again. You're adding that solvent back into it. And that's why it takes the nail polish back off, because you're adding it back in there. So, you know, you have your acetone is also used for that. It's actually much better at removing it, but it's much harsher as well. So acetone can also dissolve a lot of hard plastics, not just, you know, nail polish, which is a polymer, but hard plastics, which is why it's kind of a little bit more harsh and why it's used to remove gel polishes and also acrylics too, because they're harder plastics. Acrylic being a harder plastic than gel polish. Gel polish is very soft polymer. So it's also, acetone's much harsher on your nails and tends to dry out your nail beds, which is why if you can find a nail polish remover that doesn't have acetone in it, that's a much better option. It might take a little bit longer to get polish off of it, but it's much easier for your nails, which is why I recommend using the nail clips, which you can find easily on Amazon. So that's kind of how nail polish removes. It's an evaporating process. So when the liquid evaporates, it leaves the solids on your nails, which forms a harder surface. It's still pretty flexible. So gel polish uses a whole different process of getting it on your nails. So gel polish is made up of methacrylate monomers and a photoinitiator. So monomers are molecules that can be bonded to other identical molecules, creating a polymer chain or a macromolecule. So this basically is chaining molecules together to create stability. So it's creating a much stronger surface. So that's kind of the process that gel polish uses, is it chains those molecules together to form a surface. So a photoinitiator is a compound that undergoes a photoreaction when it absorbs light. So this basically is causing a chemical reaction when it's exposed to UV rays, which is why you sit under the UV bulbs after you get gel polish done. So basically, when the mixture that they use is exposed to the UV light, it triggers polymerization and solidification. So basically, the process turns the mixture into a polymer on top of your nails and creates it a solid. So it's hardening it with the UV light. So it's basically, instead of using the evaporation process, whereas nail polish already has the polymers in the mixture and then just the alcohol evaporates off of it, what gel polish does is it actually is creating the chemical reaction on top of your nail to create the nail polish. So it's just a different process. So you're going through the chemical reaction rather than already having the polymer there. So just two different processes. Gel polish is a little more flexible than acrylic, and it's usually a lot thicker than using regular nail polishes. So those are kind of the differences between nail polish and gel polish. Color Street is 100% nail polish that's already 95% dry. When it comes out of the packaging, it's really easy to apply at home, so you don't have to go to the salon like you usually do with gel polish. You have the UV bulbs. I know they kind of make some of those kits at home, but it can be a little dangerous to use them at home unless you kind of know what you're doing and use a very clean environment. You can get infections, so just be careful if you use those at home. Make sure it's very clean. I like Color Street because of being the 100% nail polish, something you can apply at home. It's half the price of going to the salon, and you don't have to use harsh chemicals like acetone to remove them, which you do have to use with gel polish, which is kind of why I switched to Color Street. I was tired of spending the time at the salon. It was expensive. You have to tip on top of it, or you should. And I didn't like using acetone because it really made my nails very weak over the years. Whereas with Color Street, after 5 months, my nails are super healthy. So that's pretty much this video. I'm trying to get a little bit better and a little quicker at these, and maybe hopefully not so boring. Let me know if that was a little too much, if I need to tone it down. My next video, I'm going to be going over ethyl acetate, which I wanted to put that one in this video too, but the more research that I kind of did into it and the more my husband was talking about it, I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to do an entire video over it because there's a lot of neat things that that's used for, not just in nail polish, but tons of other stuff that you use around your house, some things that you drink. It's really neat. So I'm going to do a whole new video on that one next week. And I just wanted to dedicate a whole video to it. So hopefully this was somewhat interesting to you. Like I said, I'll try to get a little less mumbly and a little more to the point. But let me know if this was interesting and if I should continue these videos if anybody's interested. So thank you. Have a good day.